Hey, what is up, you beautiful humans? Reed here, and if you are in your 20s right now, feeling like you are drowning in a sea of student loan debt, insta-perfect lives, and the crippling anxiety of not knowing what the heck you are doing, then buckle up, Buttercup, because we need to have a serious chat, a no-holds-barred, wake-you-up at 3 a.m. kind of chat. I am 27, just an average dude, but I have made more money mistakes in my 20s than most people make in a lifetime. And today, I am going to share every single painfully learned lesson so you do not have to repeat my epic fails. Look, a lot of people ask me, Reed, what is the secret to making serious money? And honestly, when I tell them the truth, nobody believes me. They want some secret algorithm, some hot stock tip, some overnight success story. But the truth, the real, raw truth, is that it all starts right up here in your head, outright. So I want to start off with something raw, something real, because transparency, that is my jam. I vividly remember sitting in my cramped shoebox-sized apartment a few years back, probably eating instant noodles for the third night in a row, staring at my credit card bill on my phone, and feeling this profound soul-crushing numbness in my chest. I was 22, maybe 23 at the time. No savings, no plan, absolutely no clue what I was doing with my life. I just felt stuck, like a fly caught in amber, watching everyone else around me. My friends, my old classmates, seemingly figuring things out, buying houses, starting businesses, getting engaged, and I was just standing still, frozen, and the absolute worst part, the most insidious part, was that I started to believe that was just who I was. I actually bought into this poisonous lie that some people are just built to succeed. They have the magic touch, the secret sauce, and I was simply not one of them. That belief right there, that insidious, quiet voice in the back of my head, constantly whispering, "It is over for you. You missed the boat. You are not smart enough. You are not disciplined enough." That voice, my friends, almost destroyed me, and I know with every fiber of my being that many of you feel that exact same way. Because I get messages, literally every single day, from people just like you, echoing those exact same sentiments saying, Reed, I feel stuck. I feel like I am failing. I feel like I will never catch up. So let me tell you what I learned the hard way, that soul-sucking feeling of being stuck. It is not a life sentence. It is not your destiny. It is a program, a deeply ingrained software that got installed into your brain by your environment, by your experiences, by the stories you tell yourself. And here is the kicker. If you understand how that program works, if you understand its code, you can absolutely, unequivocally rewrite it. You can delete the old, buggy code and install something infinitely more powerful. Now, the first concept, the foundational truth we need to dissect, is called learned helplessness. It sounds super academic, I know, but stick with me. It is crucial. Psychologists, those brainy folks, discovered this back in that they did these experiments with dogs. Not exactly PETA, approved research, but bear with the analogy. They gave these poor pups mild electric shocks that they could not escape. No matter what they did, they tried to jump, they tried to bark, they tried to dig, but nothing worked. And after a while, what happened? The dogs just gave up. They stopped trying to get away. Even when the researchers, get this, opened the door and showed them a clear, wide-open way out, they just laid there, resigned, accepting the pain, because their brains had quite literally learned that nothing they did mattered. They had learned to be helpless. Now, here is the scary part. The part that should send a shiver down your spine. That is exactly what happens to so many of us. Especially in our 20s. We try to get our finances together. We read a book. We try a budget, and we fail. We try to start a side hustle. We pour our heart and soul into it, and we crash and burn. We try to get in shape. We hit the gym for 2 weeks, with all the enthusiasm of a puppy, and then we quit after enough of these failures. These perceived setbacks. Our brain, that sneaky little devil, starts to believe that change is impossible, that effort is futile, that we are just destined to repeat the same old patterns. So we stop trying. We see a way out, a clear path to financial freedom, to a healthier life, to a more fulfilling career, but we do not take it. Why? Because deep down, in that quiet corner of our mind, we do not believe it is real. We do not believe it is for us. I, my friends, was that dog for years. I honestly believed with every fiber of my being that I was just bad with money. It was my identity, I thought. Oh, some people are natural savers. They are born with that money-saving gene, and some people are natural spenders. Like me, always chasing the next dopamine hit, and I was just undeniably a spender. That was my identity etched in stone. And identities, man, they are dangerous. Truly dangerous. Because once you claim one, once you internalize it, your brain will defend it like your life depends on it. Your brain will actively seek out and find evidence to prove that you are right about yourself. So if you believe you are bad with money, you will notice, with laser-like precision, every single time you overspend, every impulse purchase, every unnecessary subscription, and you will conveniently ignore, or quickly forget every single time you save a dollar, every disciplined choice, every smart investment, and that belief, that self-fulfilling prophecy, just gets stronger and stronger over time, a thick, impenetrable wall. So how in the heck do you break out of this mental prison, this learned helplessness, this self-imposed identity first? And this is crucial. You have to understand that your identity is not permanent. It is not something you were born with, like your eye color, your height, or the size of your feet. It is a collection of beliefs, of habits, of narratives that you picked up along the way, like a dusty backpack full of outdated notions, and anything at all that was learned can be unlearned, full stop. But here is the hard truth, the inconvenient truth, the truth nobody wants to tell you, the one I am telling you now. Unlearning is painful. It is uncomfortable. It feels like losing a part of yourself, like shedding an old skin. And that, my friends, is precisely why most people never do it. They stay stuck. They remain in that familiar, suffocating comfort zone because staying stuck is familiar. It is predictable and familiar, even when it hurts, even when it is slowly killing your dreams, feels safe. I want to share a personal story with you now, something I have never really talked about publicly before. It is a bit vulnerable, but hey, that is what we do here, right? When I was about 24, I had this profound, earth-shattering moment, a moment of stark realization that I absolutely, unequivocally needed to change. I was working a job I despised, a soul-crushing 9 to 5 that sucked the life out of me, coming home exhausted, emotionally drained every single day, spending my meager earnings on takeout and cheap beer just to feel something, just to numb the existential dread, and then inevitably waking up the next morning feeling worse, hungover, regretful, financially poorer. It was this vicious cycle, a self-perpetuating hamster wheel that kept spinning and spinning, consuming my youth. And one night, I was lying in bed probably around 2 a.m., scrolling aimlessly through my phone, just trying to escape my own thoughts, and I stumbled upon a video. Nothing revolutionary, just some guy, probably a little older than me, calmly talking about compound interest. Nothing crazy, no fancy jargon, he was just explaining, in plain English, how if you save $200 a month consistently, starting at 25, you could, theoretically, have like $1 million by the time you retire. And I remember, with a jolt, doing the math in my head, simple calculations, and thinking, okay, I can do that, $200 a month. That is doable. That is not an insane amount. That is a few less takeout meals, a few less beers. I can make that happen. And then, almost immediately, my brain, that old learned helplessness program, started fighting back. It whispered, yeah, but you never stick to anything. You have tried saving before. Remember, it did not work. You do not make enough money. What is the point? You will just fail again, give up. And that voice, that insidious self-sabotaging voice, almost won. I almost just rolled over, pulled the covers over my head, and went to sleep, dismissing it as another pipe dream. But something profound clicked that night. A tiny spark of defiance ignited within me. I realized that voice, that familiar, comforting voice of doubt, was not telling me the truth. It was not protecting me. That voice was just my learned helplessness talking. It was the old program, the outdated software, trying to protect itself, trying to keep me small, trying to keep me safe, in that familiar, stagnant comfort zone. And I realized with absolute clarity that if I wanted to truly change my life, if I wanted to break free, I had to stop listening to that voice. I had to ignore it, defy it, and do the thing anyway. Even if it was terrifying, even if I felt like a fraud. So I started small, ridiculously small. I opened a separate savings account, a completely distinct account, so I could not easily dip into it. And I set up an automatic transfer of $50 a week. That is it. $50 a week. Not a huge amount, not life-changing, but it was a start, a tangible, actionable step. And I made a solemn vow to myself, I would not touch that money for any reason. No emergencies. No impulse buys, no I deserve this moments. And for the first few months, I am not going to lie, it was hard, brutally hard. Every fiber of my being wanted to quit. I wanted to spend that money on things that felt good in the moment, that offered instant gratification. But I kept going, I grit my teeth, I ignored the voice, and I kept putting that $50 in, week after week. And after about 6 months, something interesting happened, something truly profound. I started to see that account grow, slowly, steadily. It was not life-changing money yet. It was like $1,200, maybe $1,300, a drop in the ocean compared to my dreams. But seeing that number, that steadily increasing number, changed something in my brain. A tiny crack appeared in the wall of learned helplessness. I started to believe that maybe, just maybe, I could do this. Maybe I was not hopeless after all. Maybe I was not just bad with money. And that belief, that tiny flicker of hope, that is what changed everything. It was the first domino to fall. Now, I want to talk about something a bit more advanced, something called the 9 stages of ego development. This is a framework from a brilliant researcher named Suzanne Cook-Groder, and honestly, understanding this, truly internalizing it, changed how I see myself and everyone around me. Basically, your ego, your sense of self, your identity, it develops through different stages as you grow up. It is not static, it is dynamic, and here is the kicker. Most people, and I am talking like 75 to 80% of the population, get stuck in what are called the conventional stages. In these stages, you define yourself by your relationship to groups, by your job title, by your skills, by your achievements. By external validation, you follow the rules that society gave you. Your parents, your teachers, the media, without really questioning them, without digging deep. And that is fine for a lot of people. They live perfectly content lives within those boundaries. But, and this is a big but, if you are watching this video right now, if you have stuck with me this long, you are probably not fine with being average. You are probably not content with the conventional. You want more. You want to break out of that mold. You want to forge your own path. And to do that, you have to move into what are called the post-conventional stages. In these stages, you start questioning your own beliefs, you start dismantling those old programs, you start seeing things from multiple perspectives, not just your own. You start realizing that the map, the mental map you were given by your parents, by your school, by your culture, is not the territory. It is just one possible map, one interpretation, out of many, many others. And once you see that, once you truly grasp that concept, you are free, truly, profoundly free. But here is the thing, and this is where most people bail. Moving up these stages takes time, it takes struggle, it takes discomfort. You cannot skip levels, you cannot hack your way to enlightenment. You have to do the work, the messy, uncomfortable, confusing work, and it is not always pretty. But there is one thing, one powerful practice that research overwhelmingly shows can accelerate this process significantly. And that, my friends, is meditation. I know, it sounds clickbait. It sounds like something a yoga instructor would tell you, but just 15 minutes of mindfulness practice a day can literally rewire your brain. It can make you more open to new perspectives, more adaptable, more resilient. I started doing it every morning before I even touch my phone, before the world starts screaming at me, just sitting in silence, watching my thoughts, observing them without judgment. And at first, I am not going to lie, it was brutal. My mind was screaming at me the whole time, a cacophony of anxieties and to-do lists. But over time, I got better at noticing when my old patterns were showing up. When that learned helplessness was trying to creep back in, I got better at catching myself before I fell into the same old traps. It is not a magic pill. It is not an instant fix. But it is one of the most powerful tools I have ever found for rewiring my brain and accelerating my growth. Now, let me tell you about the biggest mistake. The most insidious trap I see people making, especially in their 20s. They consume information like crazy. They watch every YouTube video about personal finance, about productivity, about side hustles. They read every single book, every self-help guru's manifesto. They listen to every podcast, every expert's advice, but they never ever actually apply anything. They mistake learning for doing, and that, my friends, is a dangerous